Hey everybody, welcome back to For Starters. So today I'm joined by Galina Ozgur, who many of you know is a longtime member of our team at HL and City Rock Venture Partners. But what you may not know is that Galina is newly a general partner of City Rock Venture Partners 2 and managing director of platform at HL. Couldn't be more excited to share this news with you all in this format. And I thought, given this very happy occasion and well-deserved elevation, that it would be a really good time to ask Galina to join us on this channel to talk a little bit about some of the things that she is so renowned as an expert in, namely the core hallmark of the HL and City Rock approach, which is the hands-on daily active engagement model, and how that has inflected her experience here at HL from day one. So first of all, welcome, Galina. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, Oliver. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Absolutely. So without further ado, I want to cover three broad topics for our audience here. It's, as always, we want to make this as relevant to the things that take up, their time and mind share. When you first came to our firm, it seems like even longer ago than it was, but it was 4 years ago in the depths of the COVID pandemic. We were very fortunate to bring, what I then regarded and now know to be the case, really one of the global leaders in venture capital platform. But I think you'll agree with me to say that venture capital platform has often played, I think, an undeserved secondary or back office role almost in the venture space, where the investors, the people doing the underwriting and picking the companies, kind of get to do that, and then more or less dump companies on the desk of the platform team saying, hey, do what you can. And obviously that's not something we agree with here. And so from day one, you've inhabited and done a great job in an investment committee seat. So I wanted to start with a question for you, which is, as you play this really important role in our sourcing and selection process, unlike so many of your colleagues in the platform space, how have you allowed the idea of our value add and relevance to enter the conversation of whether or not we should invest in a company and play a role indeed in our selection process?
Thank you, Oliver. Well, first of all, reflecting on my journey, absolutely true. Joining HL Ventures during the height of the COVID pandemic was a pivotal moment for me. All that stillness that we had in New York City gave me a lot of space to reevaluate my professional identity in venture capital. And for years, I'd been searching for a firm that aligned with my mission, which is to actively support founders who are building impactful companies. When I joined HL Ventures 4 years ago, I found that alignment and finally felt at home in this industry. So I'm very grateful to be here in this moment with you. But getting back to your question about relevance in our sourcing and selection process, well, this really goes to the heart of what makes HL unique. Our philosophy is that VC platform isn't just a post-investment resource. It's an integrated strategy that informs every stage of the investment lifecycle. At HL, we prioritize establishing relevance from the very beginning of our engagement with founders, starting with what we call a wishlist call. And this call is an intentional pivot from the more traditional VC approach. There's nothing wrong with a more traditional VC approach, but we chose to do it differently. And rather than leading with what we need, we focus on really understanding the founder's challenges and opportunities. It's a candid discussion where we ask, what's on your mind? What's on your wish list? Where could you use the most support? This allows us to diagnose and identify where our team can add the most value, both immediately and in the long term. And of course, this is also a great insight into how the founder and the founding team thinks, which is very helpful to our diligence. What's striking about this process is how much it informs both sides. So for the founders, it signals our very active and tailored approach to partnership. That's great. For us, it ensures we're pursuing opportunities where our involvement can drive meaningful outcomes. And this early relevance not only differentiates us, but also lays the groundwork for a more impactful partnership as the company scales.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I love the wish list call, and we keep hearing from founders how unusual it is. I think one of the other things that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this is, underwriting is oftentimes kind of a binary process. You come up with an investment memo and it says, well, there are these risks involved and there are these potential upsides. And, go or no go. And in our case, I think we add another component to it, which is there's obviously potential we see in the company. There's risks we see in the company, like with anything, even the most successful companies come with risk. But then there's the risks that we think we can help mitigate. Talk a little bit about how that enters into our investment committee process and how we're thinking about, the inflection of the risks to make the company actually more investable because we're there.
At HL Ventures, our approach to mitigating risk is both proactive and deeply embedded into our investment process. We've built an expert network that isn't just robust, it's purposeful. It's designed to address the specific challenges our companies face at critical inflection points. And by integrating this expertise into our process, we help de-risk key areas that can determine a company's success. One of the ways we do this is by starting pretty early. Through our qualification calls and wishlist calls, we gain a deep understanding of where a company needs the most support. And this isn't just a box checking exercise for us at HL. It's where we begin mapping the areas of opportunity and identifying the experts in our network best positioned to help. And by the time a deal is brought to investment committee, we've already run these priorities by our expert network. We've aligned internally on whom to tap for specific activities and prepared to execute immediately post-investment. So our diligence process isn't just about identifying the risks, but it's about identifying how we can actively mitigate them. Whether it's go-to-market strategy, it's sales execution, operational scaling, we come prepared to fire on all cylinders right away as soon as the investment is made. And in my opinion, by starting this process early and maintaining it throughout the life cycle of the investment, we provide founders with a level of continuity and engagement that's rare in the VC world. This isn't just about de-risking, it's about equipping companies to thrive. And this is what genuinely sets HL apart.
So I'm really glad that you used the word continuous, because, one of the things when Eric Hatzimemos and I started HL, now over a decade and a half ago, when I had more and darker hair, the assumption that we made that I think was probably our worst assumption was that our value add would fade over time. So we would be really intense with the companies in our venture studio for, through maybe Series A, and then, they would professionalize and no longer need us. And in fact, our experience, lived experience of that has been anything but that. Talk a little bit about how we maintain a consistency, even if the character of the things we're doing changes, but a consistent level of support throughout the journey for entrepreneurs.
The challenges companies face evolve as the company grows, but I'm sad to say they don't end once capital is raised. And that's why consistency of support, continuity in our supportive services is so important. At HL, we pride ourselves on being long-term partners and quite honestly, lifelong learners of the venture business. As we've grown as a firm, we've intentionally brought on more expertise to address the very things that our founders need at every stage. And early on, our support might focus on very specific areas, such as helping pre-seed founders structure their org chart or tackle operational hurdles. And as they progress, it may evolve into more sophisticated areas, developing whole hiring plans for a growth team or navigating board relationships or strategizing for the next fundraising round. This adaptability is truly a pillar of our platform. It's something we call resource magnetism. It's about anticipating needs and coming prepared with the expertise, tools, and network required to support our companies as they scale.
Makes total sense. So I wanted to kind of, well, it's not quite closing. I have a surprise question for you, but we'll get back to that. The closing, thoughts here for me would center on the future of venture capital and where you see the provision of active engagement and value to portfolio companies going as a part of the venture capital experience. I think we can both agree for the longest time, of course, venture firms mean well and often do try and add value and sometimes are very successful at doing that. I think the thing that we identified early on at HL is making that institutional in grade, consistent, throughout the life cycle of the company and present for every company all the time, not just the top companies some of the time, right? But do you see this value add story, this active engagement story, playing more and more of a role in the future of VC? And how do you see this playing out for the industry?
I certainly hope so. Whether or not the rest of the industry adopts this approach, though, I know for a fact it's deeply embedded in the DNA of HL Ventures and our team. Our hands-on active engagement with founders has not only shaped me as a professional, but has also had a tangible impact on the lives and businesses in our portfolio. And I believe more investors should embrace this model of active support, but that takes work and that requires a commitment and a shift in how we think about VC platform teams. They shouldn't be seen as post-investment additions, completely removed from the investment process. I believe that platform professionals need to be fully integrated. I talk about this all the time. I think they should be contributing to diligence. They should be helping unlock value from the start. And so at HL, we've shown how transformative this approach can be. And I hope to continue advocating for it within the industry. It's a model that doesn't just support founders, it elevates the entire venture ecosystem.
I think that's right on. And look, as far as I'm concerned, and I've said this before on this channel even, I don't think every single VC needs to be able to do the kinds of things that we in a small peer group can do, but every company should want one of us around, in the syndicate somewhere. So I, promised you a surprise question, so I have one. You and I had a conversation with a founder years ago, over whose head the light bulb went off, and he said, "Oh, so what you guys do all day is onboard the worst thing going on in every founder's day." And I remember thinking to myself, well, that's one way to think about it. But the question I have for you to close us out for the day is, why do you love doing this? What's great about it for you? What is it that keeps you coming back to help these founders through thick and thin, day in, day out, for years at a time?
I love the surprise question. Well, my passion for this work is rooted in my own journey. I came to the US in my 20s as an immigrant with barely any network, and I had to build everything from the ground up. That experience gave me a deep sense of empathy for founders, and because I know what it's like to feel under-resourced and unsupported. And it's the very reason why I connect so strongly with those who are honest about their struggles and willing to ask for help. I see their vulnerability as a strength, not a weakness, and I want to be there to support them through it. So supporting early stage founders has become my mission since my very first job here in New York. And it's a mission that's deeply personal to me because my own journey mirrors so many of the founders' journeys. I'm drawn to the grit, I'm drawn to the fight, to the determination it takes to succeed. And I'm truly proud and honored to be on the front lines with them.
Well, those are wise words indeed, and wonderful mission to close out on. So once again, congratulations on your new and well-deserved role as a general partner here. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with this group. Folks, we'll be back in the future, but in the meantime, be well. And we wanted to leave you with, I think, that great sentiment that there's something really important and rewarding and great about being there for founders through and through.